They're the side-scrolling tortoises of video games. It's the Koopa Troopa from the Mario series. For the two of you who are unfamiliar with the Koopa Troopa, they made their first appearance in the game Mario Bros, which originally released in arcade cabinets in 1984. The Koopa Troopas are by far one of the most iconic enemies in Bowser's entire army. Some of them are nothing but ferocious and mean towards the residents of the Mushroom Kingdom. But after Mario and Luigi became the protectors of the Mushroom Kingdom, we found out that not all of the Koopa Troopas were as brave and fierce as we thought they were. Actually, quite a lot of them are nothing more than a bunch of cowards and scaredy cats, and they'll always tuck into their shell as soon as they sense trouble. But today, this Koopa Troopa will come out of his shell and fight Mario and Luigi on the Super Smash Bros. Roster. So starting off, this Koopa Troopa would be a slightly below average midweight character. It'd have 2 jumps and would be able to crawl. But now, let's dive into its costumes. For the Koopa Troopa's default appearance, it'll be in its iconic green attire. For the rest of the alts, these will have the Koopa Troopa in different color schemes that reference all the other Koopa Troopa variants, which have it in red, gold, blue, light blue, purple, pink, and black. Now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the— OW! Something hit me in the head. What is this? Looks like Dry Bones will be joining Koopa Troopa as its Echo Fighter. Dry Bones is another variation of the Koopa Troopa that exists after the Koopa Troopa gets attacked with fire. Now in terms of differences, there are a few things to make Dry Bones different from Koopa Troopa. First of all, Dry Bones' attacks are a lot faster but aren't as strong compared to Koopa Troopa's. And second, Dry Bones is a lot lighter than Koopa Troopa, making Dry Bones here an above average lightweight character instead of a below average midweight character. So keep this in mind when selecting Dry Bones. Now for Dry Bones' default appearance, it'll be in its iconic white bone tone. For its first alt, its bones turn whiter, and its shoes turn red, which is a direct reference towards their appearance in Super Mario World. For the second alt, Dry Bones' bones turn blue. This references the dark bones from Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. For the third alt, Dry Bones turns entirely pink. This in reference towards the oddly named red bone species from Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. For the fourth alt, Dry Bones gets a dark color scheme that references dark bones from Mario Sluggers. For the fifth alt, Dry Bones' bones turn sandish yellow, which references the dull bones from, yet again, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. For the sixth alt, Dry Bones' shell and shoes turn green, which is meant to be a reference towards the green Koopa Troopa, but it could also be a nod to the fact that some Dry Bones' shells tend to be green in the various Mario Sport titles. And the final alt will have Dry Bones turn entirely golden, which is a costume that he can get in the mobile game Mario Kart Tour. Now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the moveset. Now for those of you who didn't see my Goomba moveset video, the way I'll be making movesets for enemy characters will be themed around them utilizing different abilities from different subspecies of their family tree. So starting off with a jab, it'll be a 3-hit jab where Koopa Troopa punches twice and ends with a kick. It works a tad bit like Mario's jab, hilariously enough. For the dash attack, Koopa Troopa charges forwards. This is meant to be a reference towards charging Chuck from Super Mario World, which is actually a variation of the Koopa Troopa. For the side tilt, Koopa Troopa winds up his fist and punches forwards. This was a move that the Koopa Troopa used in Super Mario RPG. For the down tilt, Koopa Troopa kicks downwards a single time. It comes out pretty quick, but it isn't as strong. For the up tilt, Koopa Troopa performs a slight uppercut upwards. It's slightly slower than Mario's up tilt, but it is a tad bit stronger. For the forward smash, Koopa Troopa tucks into its shell and jumps forwards a single time. Unfortunately, there is a bit of start lag and a lot of end lag once the attack ends. For the down smash, Koopa Troopa tucks into its shell again and spins multiple times, dealing multiple hits of damage until the final hit. For the up smash, Koopa Troopa grows a bunch of spikes on his shell and jumps upwards a single time, dealing a large amount of damage and knockback. Despite this sounding just like Bowser's, this is meant to be a nod to the Spinies, which are entirely covered in spikes. For the neutral air, Koopa Troopa tucks into its shell and spins multiple times, dealing multiple hits of damage until the final hit. This actually comes from an animation that Koopa Troopa has in Mario Kart. For the forward air, Koopa Troopa kicks his legs forwards, just like what a few characters do in Smash. For the back air, Koopa Troopa sticks out his shell backwards. It's not incredibly strong, but it does have incredible launch power. For the down air, Koopa Troopa tucks into its shell and dives downwards, which can drag foes in and deal multiple hits of damage until the final hit, just like Bowser's down air. Despite it being just like Bowser's, this is meant to be in reference towards the spiny blue shell from the Mario Kart series. And finally, for the up air, Koopa Troopa performs a simple leg kick upwards, but where Koopa Troopa comes out of its shell is with its special attacks. For Koopa Troopa's neutral special, Koopa Troopa will equip a hammer and throw it forwards as a small projectile. If this move sounds vaguely familiar, then you're probably thinking of the Hammer Bro assist trophy in Smash where it does just that. In fact, this move will function just like Hammer Bros', which makes sense since this move is pulled straight from the Hammer Bros species in the Mario series. Anyways, this hammer is gravity affected and can be spammed for as long as you'd like. However, it's not recommended to rely too much on this move as it does count as a projectile, so be wary of using this move against foes with reflectors. Now if you're playing against Dry Bones, the move will change. Instead of throwing a hammer, Dry Bones will instead throw a bone forwards. Unlike the hammer, the bone travels a much shorter distance and can't be spammed. Despite that, it doesn't disappear immediately after hitting one foe, so other opponents can still get hit even if it hits other opponents before. Now for the side special, this will be a parallel to Squirtle's side special, where the Koopa Troopa tucks into its shell and slides forwards. However, unlike Squirtle's side special, where it stops as soon as it hits an opponent, Koopa Troopa will still remain inside its shell until you press the shield button or it slides off the stage and loses stock. The downside with this move is that you can't turn around while in the shell, so if you happen to accidentally use this move off stage, don't expect Lakitu to fish you out of the blast zone. Speaking of which, for Koopa Troopa's down special, Koopa Troopa will mimic what Lakitus are well known for doing and throws a spiny forwards. This spiny acts a little bit like the Mecha Koopa that Bowser Jr. has for his down special, where it walks around the stage for a bit until it bumps into an opponent. However, unlike the Mecha Koopa, the spiny doesn't disappear after it bumps into an opponent. Instead, it continues to walk forwards or backwards for about 10 seconds. You can only have one spiny on screen at a time, so keep that in mind. Now when you're playing as Dry Bones, the move will slightly change. Instead of throwing a spiny, Dry Bones will instead throw a Buzzy Beetle. It's not exactly a beetle per se, but whatever. The Buzzy Beetle mechanically works just like the spiny, but there is one key difference. It's a lot stronger than the spiny. Not only that, but it also moves a lot faster. On the bright side, the spiny and Buzzy Beetle can be defeated if they happen to deal a total of 20% of damage, so they aren't that big of a threat if you can KO them. And finally, for the up special, Koopa Troopa grows wings and takes the fight to the skies as the flying turtle known as the Paratroopa. Once the up special is activated, Koopa Troopa can flap its wings up to 10 times by pressing the special button repeatedly. Once Koopa Troopa uses up all of its flaps, the wings disappear, which will cause Koopa Troopa to go into a free fall until it lands back on the stage. However, if Koopa Troopa lands back on the stage and still has some more flaps that it didn't use, then Koopa Troopa will get one floaty jump to replace its first jump. So if you happen to have a total of 9 or fewer flaps left, you could easily use them to your advantage on the stage. Overall, the Koopa Troopa has a lot of abilities and attacks to make it a force to be reckoned with. But unfortunately, just like the Goomba moves I made, Koopa Troopa has a gimmick that very much reflects the Koopa Troopa's true nature. Just like in the Mario series, Koopa Troopa has one unfortunate weakness: being jumped on. If Koopa Troopa happens to get footstooled, it'll quickly retreat into its shell and flip upside down. When it's tucked in its shell, Koopa Troopa is temporarily unable to do anything. To make matters worse, players can actually grab Koopa Troopa in this state and can throw it just like the green shell item in Smash. In order for players to grab Koopa Troopa though, they need to press the grab button instead of the attack button. I know what you're thinking. This gimmick makes Koopa Troopa seem like a garbage fighter. But don't worry, despite the cons with this gimmick, Koopa Troopa actually gains a few pros. First of all, even though players are able to throw Koopa Troopa while in its shell, Koopa Troopa will be immune to all damage. Second, Koopa Troopa can't be thrown off stage like the green shell item. If players try to throw Koopa Troopa off stage, Koopa Troopa will immediately turn around and try to hit the opponent while it's in its shell. And third, Koopa Troopa can return back to normal by rapidly pressing all of the attack buttons after it gets footstooled. Now for Dry Bones, its gimmick will be the exact opposite. Instead of tugging into its shell, it will just fall apart and stay on the ground. When it's broken down, Dry Bones can't be launched or grabbed out of the state, but it can take damage. So even though Dry Bones can't be KO'd, the opponents could gain the upper hand and try to deal a large amount of damage within a short period of time, so that once Dry Bones reforms, they can KO him. And now, for the final smashes. Koopa Troopa's final smash will be Fake Bowser. For this final smash, Kamek appears and turns Koopa Troopa into a form that we all hate, the infamous Fake Bowser. Once this happens, Fake Bowser will start shooting opponents with fireballs, hammers, and will randomly stomp at the ground to cause an earthquake. Then, after about 10 seconds of this madness, Koopa Troopa returns back to normal, ending the final smash. Now if you're playing as Dry Bones, the final smash will change to Fake Dry Bowser. It works a little bit like Koopa Troopa's final smash, but the big difference with this final smash is that Fake Dry Bowser will throw bones instead of hammers and shoots out blue fireballs instead of the regular ones. Then, after 10 seconds have passed, Dry Bones will turn back to normal, ending the final smash. These final smashes reference Bowser's common plan to place fake Bowsers to distract the Mario Bros from rescuing Princess Peach. The stage of choice is Koopa Cape from Mario Kart Wii. This stage mechanically works like the Mario Circuit stage in Smash, where the stage's layout and background move from one part of the stage to another. But unlike Mario Circuit, the stage will occasionally have item blocks that players can walk through. If they walk through the item block, they'll get a random Mario Kart item. In the background, you can see various spots from the Koopa Cape track. As most of you guessed, I'll mostly be going with various Koopa Troopa and Dry Bones songs from the course of the Mario series. In total, 17 songs will be included, 9 of which will be remixed. And that would be if Koopa Troopa and Dry Bones joined Super Smash Bros. To be honest, I'm very surprised that out of all of Bowser's minions, Piranha Plant was chosen as a fighter instead of Koopa Troopa. It's a shame that Koopa Troopa didn't join Ultimate, but I think it's possible that the next Smash game may introduce the Tough Turtle as a playable fighter. Anyways, do you have a character you'd like to see be given a Smash moveset? If so, let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe? That way you can get notified when I put out any Super Smash Bros. Moveset videos. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.